couple of minutes ago, and it's a curious thing about Facebook Live that I can see myself here, and it looks as if my face is a bit chopped off, but then when I saw the video on the desktop, it was okay. So I'm going with this. This is day 4 of my self-imposed 31-day challenge, a Facebook video challenge. And yesterday I shared a book in my video, and it was about social media partly anyway, but my comments were about social media. And I suppose just because of that, maybe before I started this, I was looking at my bookshelf and I saw a book which I'll share with you in a moment. And that led me to a bit of a thought for the day. And the thought is about building on your past successes. We all have, and I'm indebted to a training program I went through with the company I'm associated with a day or so ago, where people talked about reference points. We have reference points which are from our past, and sometimes they can kind of drag us back if they're negative experiences, failures, all that sort of thing, and we get a bit stuck in the past. And what we need to have is reference points for the future, a vision, things we want to achieve, dreams, all of that. So it was an interesting kind of model, and maybe I'll talk about it another time. But what I realized was that that it's possible, it's frequent for people to focus just on those negative things in the past. And I'd been doing a bit of that last night, and a bit sleepless, and I'm normally not sleepless. And so I had to kind of address that a bit today and realize that something I was looking at as a failure was actually a bit of a blessing, because it helped me get my mind clear about a set of circumstances and negotiations and so forth. So I'm stronger for future events where I am challenged in some way. And so I was thinking about reference points. And one of the things that I will say sometimes to clients who are having a hard time with the immediate challenge is, can you tell me about something that you did in the past? Doesn't have to be about your business, your job, where you were really successful, where you felt fantastic, and interesting things come out. You know, it might be that somebody had who was an executive once won a prize for his or her garden. It might be something where someone won a swimming competition. I won a swimming competition once, but the handicap was rigged so that everyone got a little trophy. I wasn't a great swimmer. Anyway, I thought, so what are some of my reference points? Well, one of the reference points I saw sitting on the desk, and that's this book, which is called, I think it's, is it back to front? Anyway, Australian People. It's an encyclopedia of the nation, its people and their origins, and it was inspired by the Harvard Encyclopedia of Ethnic Groups in America, and this was a major project for the Australian Bicentenary, and I was given charge of getting it together, of making sure it happened, as in my role at that time as National Program Coordinator. And there were all sorts of political minefields. Different universities wanted to have the project. There was $1 million from the federal government, which actually, given what happened, was not a lot of money. And there were a whole lot of minefields in terms of what I'd call ethnic politics. And so this was a challenge that I kind of took on, maybe a bit blithely, and thought I can. And looking back, you know, I think I know it really went well. I was there when it was launched in Parliament House in Canberra. I got the Prime Minister's signature on my copy and the signature of some of the leading demographers who were associated. But one of the things is that if you got hold of a copy of that, you would see that my name doesn't appear anywhere. It's not. There's a great list of names of committee people and experts and editors and authors and all of that, and everybody who contributed in the back, including a cousin of mine who's a noted linguist, and he was an expert on the book. My name is nowhere. That doesn't bother me, because I know what I did, and that's what is really important, that we know what we've achieved, even if the rest of the world is not aware. There'd be very few people in the country now who would have any idea that I was even associated with that project. But for me, it was a moment of enormous satisfaction when negotiated all most of the hazards and most of the traps in the way, and the project was off and running, and we had a deadline which some people would see as too limited. The Harvard Encyclopedia didn't come out for years after the US Encyclopedia, and we didn't US Bicentennial, and we didn't want that to happen, so we made it a condition. It had to be published in the bicentennial year. There were lots of conditions. There were lots of, a pessimist would have said it wasn't going to happen, or it wasn't going to happen in time. It happened, and while I was not there to actually involved in the actual publishing, I know that I put the deal together, if you like. So I know I can put deals together. So when one doesn't go, I've got to think back and say, hey, there's that book there that shows me I can put $1 million deal together, or whatever really the real cost would have been, more than 1 million. And so I just commend the idea of thinking back and not dwelling on the things that didn't go right, the failures, the bad judgments, the wrong choice of business partners. Been there, done that. And think about the good things you've achieved, even if the rest of the world doesn't know about them, because you know in your heart, and that's where you can get the strength when you're next challenged, and where I will get the strength when I'm next challenged to think, hey, I can succeed because I have succeeded, and that's really powerful. So I hope you've found that stimulating, at least, prompting some thoughts. If you have some experience to share or question, please leave a note in the comments, and I'd love to hear from you. That's my day 4 of my 31-day Facebook video challenge. I'll get it right before the end. And this one, I'm really happy, is going live, because I've tried a couple of times on the first couple of days and it wouldn't work, the app wouldn't work. So I'm really excited. So this is a milestone. So now I can look back when someone says, hey, I'm having trouble with Facebook Live, and say, I can do that. So have a great weekend wherever you are, and I'll be back tomorrow anyway. So if you're around, I may do it this time, may do it earlier. Bye now.